Hi,
Hi,
Kat.
Gabby.
I can't tell you how excited I am to finally get a chance to speak with you about your work. I am such a huge admirer of so many of your projects, with everything from American Horror Story to WandaVision and then on to Lyle Crocodile and Ms. Marvel. Your attention to detail in set dress is amazing.
Wow, thank
Amazing.
you so much. I am really flattered that someone out there has actually seen all the work.
Oh my
Amazing.
God. That, and people don't realize how important set decoration and set dress are to a production, be it a film, be it a TV series, because it's those little things that make all the difference in the world. And particularly with WandaVision, this really, and I'm so excited to see this special edition, the collector's edition coming out in Steelbook and all. WandaVision is the gift that keeps on giving, I think.
I
Especially
agree.
especially when it comes to your work and Mark's work, because the devil is in the details in WandaVision. It would, as popular as Wanda is, it would not have worked nearly as well nor been as immersive did somebody not pay the kind of attention that you paid to the details here as we go through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And you're tackling, and this is what blew my mind, Kathy, is you tackled some of the most iconic and well-known TV shows in history to incorporate them, like the Brady Bunch house or the Petrie house and their kitchen. It was if I stepped back in time when I was a little kid watching, Dick Van Dyke Show or watching the Brady Bunch. I mean, just outstanding work. Outstanding.
Wow, thank you so much. It means a lot to hear that from you.
With a series like WandaVision, and because you're spanning all these decades, and you're picking such memorable, iconic things out of television history, where do you even start? How do you even start? Do you look at this and go, oh my God, I better watch the Dick Van Dyke Show. I better itemize everything I see in the kitchen and the living room. How do you get started on a project this large?
Yeah. Well, you're right about that. We did a lot of research. In fact, I kept those sitcoms running continuously in my office. So it was kind of fun whenever someone would come in. You would never know what we would be seeing on the screen, but it would just help us start to internalize all of these shows and the differences between the eras. And of course, I had to educate my younger staff about those eras because I actually lived through them myself. So that was pretty helpful to have, firsthand knowledge because I'm a little older. And anyway, it started there. But of course, with Mark Worthington, we worked very closely, and he had a lot to say, and we had just lots and lots of meetings, and they did quite extensive research over in the art department as well. So, we teamed up, but I think for Set Deck, we did zoom in on the very specific details, and we tried to do a bit of a mashup in the later episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a lot of fun, but we tried to stay very true to the eras and also to the set decoration, the various pieces of furniture and the colors and the patterns and the textures and all of it, because we needed to distinguish and we wanted people to understand that these were renditions, I'll call them, of these shows. They weren't verbatim copies
Right.
of the, they were, it was almost as if Wanda created it from her memory, and I always tried to sort of pretend that I was Wanda channeling the past and using almost my memory to create these sets. So it was pretty fun in that way.
I think you did an amazing job because these are the things I watched, I was a little, as I said, a little girl with the Dick Van Dyke Show watching that.
Yeah.
But something that you also had to do that I absolutely love, because it's like I grew up with a father who spent 60 years in broadcast television as an engineer, going back to the 40s. So it was live TV, black and white, and then morphed into color. And when everything was black and white, you still had to worry about the colors that you're choosing for how it's going to look in black and white. You now had to worry about that in WandaVision for the black and white episodes.
Yes, we did. In fact, the first one, the Dick Van Dyke nod, was shot at the end of the season. We see it in color, so we see it both in black and white and color. So we did spend a lot of time, and in fact, with our phones, we were able to look at fabrics and paint color chips, and see them in black and white and in color using that black and white mode on the phone, on the camera. So that's kind of was our little trick, and we just wanted to make sure that we had enough contrast and that our DP was happy with the black and white version, as well as when it came to color, when it came to full life in color. So I thought we did a good job with that, and thank you for pointing it out.
And as a lot of people, they don't know, it's like when you look at something in grayscale, what may look great in grayscale, when you see the color version, it looks like crap. The Addams Family, a perfect example, almost everything were pinks and reds and burgundies in color.
Yeah.
But that's what translated into the contrast and textures in black and white. So
Right.
not only did you have to look at the colors that were going to look good, but what was also going to look good in color, what was interchangeable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was tricky. We did spend a lot of time. In early stage, we shot WandaVision in order, and most of the prep, I would say, for me at least, went into that first set. That was our most important set, the Dick Van Dyke set, and it was the one we paid, probably, spent the most time on, and that was part of it, getting both those, the black and white grayscale, correct.
I have to compliment you on the furniture in every episode because it is so iconic, and you mentioned the fabrications, and that is something that I like to pay, just like with costume design, particular attention to, because that speaks volumes of an era. And here you're taking us through everything that was mid-century American and moving on up, and the fabrics in mid-century furniture, and they were populating our house, and my mother had plenty of them. The texture is very specific, and this was coming through beautifully on screen. And as we got into the later years, you've got ugly kind of floral, like a Roseanne kind of couch floral fabric, probably Scotch guarded to the nines, as well as other fabrications. Was it difficult to source out the era appropriate fabrics?
That was tricky. I had a really great person doing the drapery for me, and she and I would work together. We would spend hours going over the fabrics, and she would go out and shop the fabrics and bring them into the office, and we would spread them out. And we spent so much time, and she actually had, because we shot in Atlanta, so she had some good sources for some vintage fabrics that maybe some of the other people didn't know about. So it was really exciting for me to have those options in front of me, and we definitely used vintage, authentic, 50s fabrics for the Dick Van Dyke set for sure. And I think it helped. I really do. I appreciate that you noticed that.
Absolutely. But it's also all the accoutrement, everything you're populating all of these eras with. I love the blend that you have with like the Family Ties, Full House, your 80s, 90s meld there. You've got, because Full House, you've got all the nautical stuff, San Francisco, the ocean. You throw enough
Right.
of that in. Family Ties, you've got the neutral camel color. It's kind of that was the balance between far right Alex P. Keaton and the rest of his family, the
Right.
neutral zone. But it's all the other apportionments, like in the Brady Bunch house. I mean, always, you immediately saw that brick wall, that stone wall,
Yeah.
and we knew exactly where we were.
Right.
But then we see all the little tchotchke things that you put around. Were they hard to find?
It was hard in the sense that I was in Atlanta and not in Los Angeles. And for that reason, I did a lot of internet shopping, honestly. And I shipped a lot of things in. And we were bringing things from all over the country. You can imagine some of the harder things to find were the appliances, the vintage appliances, because if you think about it, appliances hardly ever move. And if they do move, they get dented. And so we had to find the perfect appliances that were in perfect condition and ship them across the country and get them in time and everything else. So those were the kinds of details that, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was very challenging. It was probably some of the hardest stuff was just getting those very specific elements that we had to have, you know.
Who decided what accoutrement would be placed in each of these sets? Did you have carte blanche? Was it your team, Mark, the directors? What was that input like to decide?
I think what the process is collect a lot of stuff, but also I knew certain things we had to use. And honestly, I have a very talented staff and crew set dressers, and we dress the set, but I always go back in and tweak it. You know, I cherry pick and I move things around, and I'm very careful about the smalls. With, you know, all of the smaller decorative items are very carefully placed and purchased. You know, it's but we always have extra things in the background, you know, that we don't use, and sometimes we have to make the cut. But yeah, it was. We were very specific about where things were placed, I have to say.
You know, but then you go beyond this trip down memory lane for everybody, and you take us into Agatha's basement, which is to die for. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
You've got.
That was a great.
How did you go about designing that, working with Mark and designing that look for that basement? Because that is stunning. To come out of a television sitcom world and to go into that, it really just took my breath away.
Yeah, that contrast was really something. And it was, again, just a really difficult set, very intricate. It took a long time for Mark's team to build that. And so we were up against the clock to dress it with our own set dressing. And we went out and found, luckily in the South, you know, they have a lot of that kind of, it was easy. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the right words to describe that kind of. It's magic. It's black magic, you know. And they have in the South. You can find taxidermy and, you know, stuffed bats and snakes and things like that pretty easily. Like, it's funny how regional it was. So those were the kinds of things that we had. You know, we found jars and we filled them with plastic snakes and creepy crawlers and things like that. And we tried really hard to make it look really creepy. But we were able to find some really great things as well, just right there locally.
Well, I think that the basement was just stunning. It was beautifully done.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, we had some really gorgeous set dressing antiques and things like that that, again, we were able to find locally in Atlanta.
But now what's interesting with WandaVision, and for you as a set decorator, and I think more for you than even Mark as a production designer, is the fact that this is very CGI heavy and stunt heavy. So when
Yeah.
you're designing and placing furniture and things, how closely did you work with the CGI, the visual effects people, or the stunt people for placement of items so that things that you've sourced out, you've only got one of something that you really want to have
Right.
in there so it doesn't get destroyed, or so that it can be replicated with its own digi double in post?
Yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes on a show like this, and I think that was, if anything, that was the thing that separated our show from your average TV show, because we had all of that going on, and we were still a streaming show that had deadlines, and we had to work really fast. So, but yeah, we had so many meetings about that. But sometimes things would happen, like, for instance, when Wanda, in the Brady Bunch house, we had to lose the side tables next to the sofa and the lamp for the visual effect there. So that was sad for me to have to lose tables and lamps for a stunt, but it had to be done, and they had to break that to me. So I could have planned. If I had known, I would have planned better for that one.
Everybody talks about directors and writers having to kill their darlings in the editing room. You have to kill your darlings equally
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Right. We do take it very personally, I think, set decorators. We get over it, but yeah, to lose side tables and lamps, that's a big deal.
And especially lamps for that particular era.
You've got it. You hit it on the head. I don't think I cried, but I might have almost cried.
Oh, you probably did. I bet you did, because
Go ahead.
because you pay such close attention and are so invested in the authenticity and the immersion that I bet you did shed a tear or two about removing lamps. But you also had to incorporate here, which blew my mind, you incorporate a circus, and you have to do a whole exterior town set dress as well. And that's, we've been talking about the interiors, but you've also got the exterior to worry about.
Yeah. It was challenging to keep track of the eras, for one. We had a spreadsheet, and we had to bring in mailboxes and lampposts and all the exterior dressing for that street. And we had to work really fast to change things over from era to era. And yes, exactly. We literally had a spreadsheet knowing how we had to make these changes, and we shot really fast. So that was a challenge, definitely.
Wow. Was it a color-coded spreadsheet? Did each era get its own color?
I think it was. I do. Yeah, it was mind-boggling, to say the least. Because they don't give us much time to prep. If we had all the time in the world, I think that's always the thing about what we do in set dec that it's hard to understand if you're uninitiated, is just the time crunch and how quickly we have to work to make these things happen.
Mm-hmm. What is it about set dress that appeals to you and that makes you want to tackle a show like WandaVision?
Well, yeah, I think I use all the knowledge I've ever gained in my whole life. It really is. It's all encompassing set decoration, and something about WandaVision. This is a hard question because it's very personal. It really. I love set decoration because we're recreating these realities. We do character analysis. We get inside the head of the characters. We sort of are like writers, I believe. And then we have to turn it into something that's in front of the camera, and it works. And a lot of times people don't know that we've even been there because it looks so right. So we have to be very humble. And we have to realize that if the set looks right and no one understands that we did this work, that we're doing our job. So.
Well, you did an amazing job on WandaVision, as I said, on all of your stuff. I love Lyle so much.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, thank you. It was a really cute, fun movie.
yeah. Kathy, this has been so wonderful to get to speak with you, especially about this series, and I hope we get to talk again in the future.
Oh, I do too. I would love that. Thank you very much. You asked really nice questions. I was wondering how this would go.
Isabel should have warned you.
I'm not used to these kind of things, so but I appreciate it.
Thank you, and you have a wonderful holiday.
All right. Same to you.